Hi YouTube, Stephen here. Coming to you today again for a second video in a couple of days. I had mentioned I wanted to make a video in regard to my son's wedding. So it's a beautiful day, beautiful Sunday here. Thought I better do that. So I'm smoking my second little GBD that I mentioned I got two. This one is lightly rusticated, very dark. It's a beautiful pipe, smokes like a dream. Got it filled with Northwoods like normal, my go-to. And this one is named after Maddie, or Madison, my new daughter-in-law. So I was there at the Iwan Reese in Chicago and picked up these two pipes at a pretty good deal and a couple tins of tobacco, and that was my souvenir of the trip. So as I'd mentioned, I think it was yesterday, I made my other video that we went early. We went on a Tuesday night to get there for our Wednesday morning appointment with the Philippine consulate because the family had to renew their passports, which just went super efficient. Even with COVID restrictions and things, I mean, you have to have appointments and very limited how many people come in at a time, and mask mandates throughout Chicago. And but yeah, went super smooth. So after that, we did a little sightseeing because John, Louise's eldest son, of course, had flown through Chicago when he came here, but had never seen any of the sights. The other two kids had been there a couple of times actually. Uh, but yeah, we went and saw the Big Bean, as I mentioned, the Big Egg in my last video. The Big Bean, the Big Fountain. There's another fountain that I can't recall the name. That's two facing pillars that are videos are displayed on them with large faces, and there's water in between, and periodically water will spit out of a spout, like the images are spitting on the kids, and then it fills up the water and they play out there, and it's just super cool. It's a real attraction, especially for the younger kids there. But of course Justine had to get out there and wade around and played ball with some of the young kids, and it was pretty sweet. So, but yeah, I forget the name of that fountain, but that's a fun one. And walked around, ate too much food, and had a great time. So I went to the world's largest Starbucks, which I was kind of embarrassed as we approached the fact that I was taking photos of a Starbucks. But boy, it is incredible. The first couple of days we were there, you could walk in and get a coffee, no problem. By Friday, my eldest son, who was in the wedding party, we went, and yeah, there's a big line inside to get our coffee. Then on Saturday, we walked down that way, and you couldn't get near the place, line around the building. And so it is a tourist attraction, and it should be. I mean, it's 4 floors, it's amazing. So enough Starbucks rant, but it's a pretty cool thing. So Friday we had the rehearsal, and it went very smoothly. Now, keep in mind, there were 9 men on my son's side and 9 women on Maddie's side, and of the 9 men, I believe all but one were hockey players. And you can only imagine, maybe you can't imagine, what 9 hockey players can act like, especially when they've been drinking quite a lot of the beers. At one point, one of the boys went. He was one of the first ones down the line. He went outside in the lobby, just outside the door is the lobby bar, and bought a round of beers for the fellas, and set them on all the spots for all the boys. As they'd come down the line, they'd hug my son, then they'd go to their space and find a beer, and it was pretty cool. Until my son told me later that, Dad, those beers were $17 a piece. Yeah, fancy hotel, fancy prices. And it was like Bud Light or something real extravagant, but it was quite an expensive round of beer, he found out, but pretty cool. So we had a wonderful dinner after that, rehearsal dinner, and I only sampled the foods. The food just kept coming. It was an Italian place, beautiful. I just kind of sampled everything because I had to give a speech. Father of the groom it's customary to give a speech at the rehearsal dinner, which I found out about 20 months before that when my son told me about it. And I cringed then, and I cringed for 19 or 20 months until I did it, and I got through it just fine. As I do when I have emotions. My heart jumped into my throat a few times, and as I said, if you don't get choked up at a time like that, maybe got to get your heart checked. So it was sweet, though, that most of these boys I had seen grow up playing hockey with my son, and as I would get choked up and kind of pause, I would hear a low murmur, "Come on, Dad, come on, Dad." And that got me through it. So it was fantastic. So my son's mom, former wife, is a wedding planner. Not just a wedding planner, a wedding planner extraordinaire. I know she has done $1 million wedding. She's done some very important people's weddings. She's very known here in our town and the surrounding states for, you know, doing parties and weddings that are just off the hook. And she spared no expense. She threw out all the stops and she went for it. And of course she would. It's her son, her youngest son. But it was one of the most beautiful things, or probably the most beautiful event that I've ever attended in my lifetime, and likely to attend in my life. Louisa here had been to a couple of weddings here in the States, but just very, very humble, you know, normal weddings. The kids had never seen an American wedding. So I told them afterwards, don't base your wedding experience on this, because this was pretty amazing. And Louisa watches a lot of Filipino celebrity weddings on TV, and she started calling Willem and Maddie's wedding a celebrity wedding, and it was every bit as nice as any celebrity wedding I've ever seen. Willem, right before the wedding, came down, and he was dressed in a, I assume, custom suit, and it was amazing. During the reception, my eldest son, Etienne, was the best man. He gave a speech and knocked it out of the park. Fantastic speech. And he had mentioned something about, was Maddie surprised when Willem moved in and had more shoes than she did, because Willem is quite a clothes horse. He loves to look nice, and he does. And only to be bested by his wife. They had been apart a day or two, I think, before the wedding, as is customary. And when Maddie came through the curtain, Willem, he had a look. Boy, it was a look. Of course, I kind of lost it there. Looked over Maddie's mom, which was a mistake because she was having a tough time. But it was a beautiful thing. She come down that aisle, and she was just a thing of beauty. And so yeah, they got married. Pretty short ceremony. Right before the ceremony, Willem was walking around with me and the hotel's wedding planner, and he said, "Can we make it colder in here? I want it as cold as you can get it." I think he was afraid of passing out. And it was already freezing cold in there, but it went off just fine. And Maddie's aunt was the officiant. She did a fantastic job. It just couldn't have been better. And then after that, of course, we had a reception that was the party of the century. I mean, it was something. Maddie and Willem were up thanking people for, I'm going to put this down for now, but they were up thanking family and friends for making the trip. And at one point, Maddie said something like, "And here comes the champagne parade," and probably 20 waiters, all in tuxedos, come filing out, jogging out, all with a bottle of champagne. They all peeled off to all the tables, filled all the glasses, and then strutted right back, and it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Of course, they're standing on a lit-up dance floor, and the tables are just gorgeous. I mean, as I said, my former wife, she knows how to do a wedding, and she really did a good one. So it was an honor to be part of it as a family member, my son, but just being a guest at this wedding was quite a thing. A lot of hockey families, of course, and friends of Maddie and family, and the room was filled with love. The hotel was filled with love, and it was pretty cool. The hotel is right in downtown Chicago. It's called the Millennium Knickerbocker. 1927, owned originally by, or sometime backed by Al Capone's brother. Had a speakeasy in the top, and Willem showed his brother a hidden passageway between one of the floors that you could duck into and go down through the stairway inside the walls and basically hide. And I'm guessing in case the law enforcement showed up. And Etienne said you could, after all these years, you could still smell the cigar smoke inside those walls. So historic, to say the least. Just an incredible place. So yeah, it was fantastic. Of course, with my fantastic editing skills, as they always say, I'm gonna have a picture pop up here and a picture pop up there. You know me better than that. I press the button and I talk, and I don't edit. I don't know how to do any of that. So we're gonna show it this way. So this is the venue. This is the ballroom. Just gorgeous. Breathtaking. Of course, this is the couple with the skyline. And then my favorite, the happy couple. So anyway, it was something. We did get some chances to break away. There is a fantastic cafe that's called Uncle Mike's, and Mike is married to a Filipina, and they do Filipino breakfast, and it was fantastic. I actually, because I'd had some Filipino food already, I chose a standard American breakfast, and the rest of the family had Filipino breakfast. And then we're leaving, and as we go out the door, I hear somebody say, "Well, there he is," and there's Uncle Mike, the owner of the restaurant. And kind of a local celebrity, and we talked and talked and talked. He followed us outside. He's got a little garden outside. He's got a dog pool. He's kind of a neighborhood fixture. And he said, well, there's a cooler there. Even if you're not thirsty, get a cold drink. There's all kinds of energy drinks and coffees and things. And just a super nice guy, really sweet. You know, it made going there, we've been there 2 or 3 times now, and it just made it even more special. So of course we went to Seafood City, which is a large Filipino grocery store. It's got the Red Ribbon Bakery. Of course, it's got Jollibee, and we had to go to Jollibee twice, I think. And so yeah, it was a great trip. Maddie and Willem and their bridesmaids and groomsmen were just so sweet. And at one point, we had to take outdoor photos with the groomsmen, and of course I was involved, and Willem said, we're walking. We walked down to a beautiful church that he wanted as a backdrop, and I knew he wanted to walk because he wanted to strut with all those boys in downtown Chicago. So amazing, fun, sweet, made my whole summer. So anyway, Maddie, Willem, happy marriage. Love you both. Anyway, take good care.